He thought she was at a friend's house, until a single GPS ping exposed everything. The truth? It wasn't just shocking, it destroyed 8 years of marriage in one night. You won't believe what happened when he walked into that hotel. Marcus Reynolds loved mornings. Not in the loud, over-caffeinated, "Good morning, world," way people post on Instagram, but in the quiet, grounding sense of the word. For him, mornings meant order, a sense of calm before the world started throwing its chaos at him. Every day began the same, the rich aroma of coffee drifting through the kitchen, the soft hum of the city outside, sunlight slicing through blinds in golden stripes across the hardwood floor. It was routine, safe, predictable. And Marcus valued that because everything else in life had a way of slipping from his control. He stood by the kitchen counter now, leaning slightly as his coffee machine hissed and sputtered. Steam curled upward like some mystical signal from an ancient oracle. He wrapped his hands around his favorite mug, a sturdy white ceramic one with the faded words "Best Dad Ever" stamped on the side, though he and Ashley never had kids. A gag gift from his brother, meant as a joke. Funny how that joke sometimes stung more than it made him laugh. He took a sip, savoring the bitter kick, when the staccato rhythm of high heels clattered from down the hall. Marcus didn't even have to look up. Ashley was awake, and dressed for war, apparently. She swept into the kitchen like a gust of expensive perfume, her presence turning the mundane into something cinematic. Black dress hugging every curve, hair cascading down in effortless waves, that glossed smile that could sell luxury cars in a heartbeat. She looked like the closing scene of an ad campaign, not someone heading out for a casual Saturday lunch. Marcus raised an eyebrow over the rim of his mug. "Whoa," he said, his voice laced with easy charm but underpinned by something else, curiosity. "Who died, and why are we attending their funeral looking like $1,000,000? Ashley gave a little laugh. High-pitched. Too quick. The kind of laugh people give when they need to buy a second to think. "Stop it," she said, swiping a manicured hand through the air like she was dismissing the question. "Jess called me last night. She needs help with her new project, some event she's planning. It's a big deal for her." Marcus let the words roll around in his head like marbles. Jess, Jessica Turner, Ashley's longtime friend, social butterfly, serial entrepreneur. Sure, Jess always had something going on. Pop-up shops, charity events, Instagram-worthy brunches. The kind of woman who thrived on being busy and seen. "Uh-huh," Marcus murmured, setting the mug down gently. "And helping her plan an event requires Chanel, number 5 and 6-inch heels?" Ashley shot him a look, sharp enough to slice through steel. Then, almost instantly, her face softened into a smile. "Marcus," she said, letting his name linger on her tongue like honey masking poison. "I know you think it's extra, but this is just how Jess likes things. Fancy restaurants, upscale vibe. You know how she is." He smirked, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, I know, Jess. What I don't know is why you didn't mention this last night." Ashley's eyes flickered, just for a heartbeat. A subtle crack in the glassy perfection of her performance. Then it was gone. She rolled her shoulders, casual, nonchalant. "It slipped my mind. We were binge-watching that crime documentary, remember? And then you fell asleep on the couch." Marcus chuckled softly. "Right. My bad for snoozing through a triple homicide." Their laughter overlapped, but his was real and hers felt like a cover-up band trying to play the original song. Close, but off-key. She reached for her phone on the counter. It buzzed, a sharp vibration against the marble that somehow sounded louder than it should have. Ashley glanced at the screen and, like lightning, flipped it face down. Marcus's gaze tracked every microsecond of that motion, too fast, too deliberate, like a magician hiding the ace of spades. He didn't say a word. Not yet. Instead, he leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, and watched her gather her purse and keys. The silence stretched thin, taut as a violin string. "You want me to drop you off?" he asked finally, his tone casual enough to pass for genuine, if you weren't listening too closely. Ashley froze mid-step. Not visibly, most people wouldn't catch it, but Marcus knew her body language like his own. Her spine stiffened, her breath hitched, for less than a second, then smoothed out like a freshly ironed sheet. "No, no," she said too quickly. "I'll take my car. Might stay later than planned if Jess needs me. You know how she gets." Marcus nodded slowly. "Right, Jess and her big projects." Ashley's lips curved into a bright smile, all teeth and no warmth. She leaned in, pressing a kiss against his cheek. It was soft, familiar, but something was missing. Something that used to be there without effort. Then she was gone. Her heels clicking down the hallway like a metronome counting down to something Marcus couldn't quite name. The front door closed, and silence moved in like an uninvited guest. Marcus stood in the kitchen, staring at nothing and everything all at once. The smell of her perfume still hung in the air, clinging to the curtains, the countertops, his very skin. He tried to shake it off, but it was like trying to wipe away smoke. It lingered, refusing to be erased. He told himself not to read into it. People have lives. People have friends. Married couples don't need to be glued at the hip. Hell, independence was healthy, right? But then his mind, traitorous as ever, replayed that one detail on loop. The phone flip. Quick, calculated, like a criminal slamming the lid on a box full of evidence. Marcus grabbed his mug and downed the last cold sip, the bitterness coating his tongue like ash. He needed to distract himself. Work. Gym. Something. Anything but this gnawing unease chewing holes in his chest. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through emails with robotic detachment. Subject lines blurred into meaningless strings of words. Q4 report. Client update. Board meeting agenda. None of it registered. Then, almost without conscious thought, his thumb hovered over an app he hadn't opened in months. Find My iPhone. They'd set it up years ago, after Ashley lost her phone during a trip to Napa. For emergencies, she'd said, back when trust wasn't a question mark dangling between them. Marcus stared at the green icon for a long beat. His pulse quickened, pounding in his ears like distant drums. His thumb tapped the screen. The app opened. Loading. Loading. And there it was. A small green dot. Ashley's phone. Still at home? Number. The dot slid across the map like a tiny ghost escaping its grave, moving fast. Marcus zoomed in, following its path, his brows knit together as the route unfolded. Not toward Jessica's neighborhood, not even close. Instead, it cut across town, weaving through traffic arteries until it stopped, dead center, at a gleaming tower of glass and steel he knew all too well. The Fontaine Grand Hotel. 5 stars. A rooftop bar that shimmered like liquid gold at sunset. The kind of place people booked when they wanted more than just a meal. A place for celebrations, secrets, affairs. Marcus felt his stomach drop, like an elevator plunging 20 floors in an instant. His first instinct? Denial. It must be a mistake. A glitch in the system. Maybe Jess booked a suite for some fancy event, and Ashley's just helping her set up. Maybe pigs will fly past his kitchen window in the next 10 seconds. But the truth was already tightening around his throat like a noose. The blinking green dot on that map wasn't lying, and neither was his gut. Marcus stared at that blinking dot like it was the last light in a blackout. The Fontaine Grand Hotel. A name that tasted expensive and bitter on his tongue. His thumb hovered over the screen as if maybe, just maybe, he could press hard enough to change what he saw. But the green dot didn't lie. It sat there, pulsing like a heartbeat, right in the middle of that glittering den of velvet secrets. He set the phone down on the counter, leaned against it, and dragged both hands over his face. His fingers dug into his scalp like he could massage away the sick feeling curling in his stomach. "Don't do this," he muttered to himself. "Don't be that guy. Don't turn into some detective from a bad soap opera." His reflection in the microwave stared back at him, tired eyes, jaw clenched tight enough to crack molars. He barely recognized the man looking back. That guy wasn't calm. He wasn't rational. He was hanging by a thread of denial, and the thread was fraying fast. Marcus let out a short laugh, sharp, humorless. Ashley at a 5-star hotel for Jess's project? Sure. And I'm the next James Bond. He picked up the mug from earlier and took a sip, forgetting it was empty. His lips met ceramic and air. Perfect metaphor for his marriage right now. Beautiful shell, nothing inside. His mind flickered through memories like an old slideshow clicking through frames. 8 years. That first date where she wore sneakers and a sundress, eating tacos on a curb because the fancy place had a 2-hour wait. The road trip to Savannah, where they got lost and laughed until their stomachs hurt. That night, he proposed under fairy lights strung across her parents' backyard. Every image punched him in the chest. Because now, sitting in this kitchen, those moments felt like scenes from someone else's movie. When did it change? He wondered. When did we stop being us? The thought hit like a sucker punch. Maybe she stopped loving him a long time ago, and he'd been too busy drinking his damn coffee to notice. He slammed the mug in the sink, the clatter ringing out like a gunshot. His pulse thundered in his ears. Marcus grabbed his phone again, thumb swiping hard on the screen. The green dot hadn't moved, still parked at the Fontaine Grand. He refreshed the map. Once, twice, 3 times. Same result. "Jesus," he whispered. "She's still there." He imagined Ashley stepping out of the elevator into a plush hallway, heels clicking on thick carpet, the smell of roses and bourbon in the air. Some guy, tall, well-dressed, maybe with that smug grin, opening the door. Her smiling back. The image burned in his brain like acid. Marcus shook his head hard, trying to fling the thought out of his skull. He even laughed, one of those low, bitter chuckles that taste like metal. "Well, good for you, Ash," he muttered, voice dripping sarcasm. "If this is the big project Jess needed help with, then congratulations. You're really committed to team building." He paced the kitchen, each step echoing against the tile, back and forth, like a lion in a cage, except the bars were invisible and the zoo was inside his head. What now? He asked himself. Call her? March down to that hotel and blow the doors off? Sit here like an idiot and wait for her to come home smelling like guilt and Chanel? His phone buzzed. A text. From Ashley. "Hey, babe, it's going well. Might be here longer than I thought. Don't wait up for lunch." Marcus stared at the message until the words blurred. His jaw flexed. a muscle ticking like a time bomb. He typed back slowly, each letter heavy. "Glad you're helping Jess. Have fun." He hit send, then muttered to himself, "Helping Jess, huh? Sure. And I'm Oprah." He tossed the phone on the couch and dropped into the armchair, elbows on his knees, hands clasped so tight his knuckles whitened. His mind spiraled. He thought about their anniversary last month, the dinner she canceled because of work, the sudden gym obsession, the late-night showers where the water ran for 45 minutes. And now this. The pieces didn't just fit. They snapped together like a puzzle from hell. Marcus let out a long, shaky breath. "Okay," he whispered. "If this is what it looks like, I need to know for sure." His eyes slid to the leather jacket draped over the chair. It wasn't just an accessory anymore. It was armor. He grabbed it, shrugging it on like a soldier gearing up for battle. Then he snatched his keys from the hook by the door, heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his fingertips. Marcus paused, his hand on the doorknob, every muscle taut with indecision. Am I really doing this? His reflection in the glass panel answered for him. Yeah, he was doing this. He turned the knob, stepped out into the crisp bite of morning air, and locked the door behind him. Not just his house, but the last shred of blissful ignorance he had left. The truth was waiting. And it was parked at the Fontaine Grand. Marcus slid behind the wheel of his black SUV, gripping the steering wheel like it owed him money. The leather was cool under his palms, but his skin felt hot, his pulse a relentless drum in his ears. He jammed the key into the ignition and twisted hard, the engine roaring to life like a beast hungry for blood. The garage door groaned open, flooding the dim space with daylight that felt too bright for the storm brewing inside him. Marcus eased the car out, tires crunching over gravel before hitting asphalt. The city stretched ahead, indifferent and loud, horns blaring, sirens wailing in the distance, pedestrians sipping overpriced lattes without a care in the world. All while his own world cracked wide open like glass under a hammer. He merged into traffic, jaw clenched, knuckles white as the city blocks blurred past. Every red light was a personal insult, every slow driver an enemy sent by fate to test his patience. "Relax," he muttered, though his voice sounded like gravel scraping against metal. "It could be nothing." But the sarcasm came quick, sharp as a knife. "Yeah, and maybe the Eiffel Tower's for sale. Call it what it is, Marcus." He gripped the wheel tighter. To distract himself, his mind slid, uninvited, into the past. Flashbacks hit him like gut punches, each one harder than the last. Ashley laughing under string lights on their first anniversary. Ashley dancing barefoot in their living room, wine glass in hand, singing off-key to Marvin Gaye. Ashley kissing him slow and deep the night they signed papers for this house, whispering, "We made it, baby." Those memories were weapons now, slicing him from the inside. Because the Ashley he saw this morning, the one draped in black silk and lies, felt like a stranger wearing his wife's face. He blew through a yellow light, barely registering the blaring horn of a delivery truck. His grip tightened, breath quickened, mind spiraled. What am I walking into? He thought. What if I see her? What if she sees me? The questions clawed at him, relentless. And beneath them all, one truth slithered through like a snake. This wasn't about catching her. This was about confirming what he already knew deep down. The Fontaine Grand loomed ahead like a mirage of glass and sin. Its mirrored facade caught the sunlight, throwing shards of brilliance across the street. Luxury cars lined the valet stand. Bellhops in crisp uniforms moved like clockwork, smiles plastered on faces that had seen everything and judged nothing. Marcus turned onto the side street, heart thudding like a war drum. He killed the engine and sat there, staring at the building like it was a living thing, a predator waiting to pounce. The green dot on his phone blinked in rhythm with his pulse. Still there. Still inside. He wiped a hand over his face, the stubble rasping against his palm. Sweat beaded at his temple despite the cool blast of the AC. Minutes crawled by, thick and heavy. His thoughts ricocheted inside his skull like bullets in a tin can. Do I storm in? Do I wait? Do I call her and see if she lies to my face? He imagined the conversation. Hey, babe, where are you? Still at Jess's? Why? Funny. Jess's place looks a hell of a lot like the Fontaine Grand. He almost laughed out loud. A sharp, bitter bark of laughter that startled even him. He opened the console, fishing out a pair of aviator sunglasses, slipped them on like a mask, as if tinted lenses could shield him from the reality about to hit. Across the street, a man in a suit stepped out of the hotel, phone pressed to his ear, grin wide and easy. Then a couple in evening wear strolled past, even though it wasn't evening yet. People came here to play pretend, Marcus thought, to live out fantasies money could buy. And Ashley was in there. Doing what? The question burned. Marcus checked the app again. No movement. Same floor. Same location. He zoomed in, memorizing the outline of the building, counting windows like a sniper lining up his shot. The rage simmered low and steady now. No longer a wild firestorm. It was a quiet, deadly thing, coiled tight in his gut. The kind of anger that didn't scream. It waited. He opened the door slowly, boots hitting pavement with the weight of inevitability. The air smelled like exhaust fumes and expensive cologne drifting from passing guests. He adjusted his jacket, squared his shoulders, and started walking. Each step toward the Fontaine Grand felt like crossing a bridge that would burn the second he reached the other side. The sliding glass doors parted with a whisper, and cool, perfumed air rushed out to greet him. The lobby stretched wide and gleaming, all marble floors and chandeliers dripping crystals like frozen tears. Soft jazz floated through hidden speakers, a soundtrack for secrets. Marcus paused just inside, scanning the space. Concierge desk to the left, a sleek bar to the right, clusters of velvet chairs where strangers murmured over champagne flutes. He moved to a corner near a towering plant, pulling out his phone again, pretending to check messages, but his eyes flicked to the map. Still there. Higher floor now. Maybe the 10th. He slipped the phone back into his pocket, heart thudding so loud he wondered if the couple passing by could hear it. The elevator bank gleamed ahead, mirrors reflecting his own face back at him from a dozen angles. A face carved from stone. He took a breath, then another, and stepped forward. The doors slid open with a chime. Marcus walked in. The elevator swallowed him whole, and the doors whispered shut. What Marcus finds when those elevator doors open will flip everything upside down. The lies, the games, the truth. It's all waiting at the top. Stay tuned, because the next chapter isn't just shocking. It's explosive. The elevator hummed softly, a metallic cocoon suspended between the life Marcus thought he had and the truth waiting above. His reflection stared back from the polished doors, jaw clenched, veins pulsing at his temples, eyes like storm clouds ready to burst. He jabbed the button for the 10th floor, fingers stiff and unyielding. The elevator obeyed with a smooth glide upward, each ding marking another nail in the coffin of denial. Marcus flexed his hands, trying to shake the tremor running through his veins. "What's the plan, genius?" he asked himself. "You gonna kick down a door? Throw punches like you're in some B-list action flick?" A laugh crawled up his throat, low, bitter, humorless. He pictured himself bursting into a hotel suite, finding Ashley in lingerie, candles flickering, champagne sweating on ice. The image made his chest constrict, like someone cinched a belt around his ribs. No, not lingerie, his mind whispered. She'd wear something classy. That's her style. Black silk, red lipstick. The kind of look that says, "I'm not sorry." The thought hollowed him out. The elevator slowed, the soft jazz filtering in from hidden speakers, sounding almost obscene now. The doors parted with a quiet chime, spilling him into a hushed corridor lined with plush carpet and muted gold sconces. Everything screamed luxury, privacy, indulgence. The perfect stage for betrayal. Marcus stepped out, his boots sinking into the thick carpet. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, thumb unlocking the screen with the urgency of a man holding a detonator. The green dot blinked steady. Still on this floor. He zoomed in, tracing the hallway layout. 3 rooms down, to the right. Suite 1013. Marcus slid the phone back into his jacket, jaw grinding like gears. He walked, each step measured, the muted thud of his boots syncing with the pounding in his chest. At the door of 1013, he stopped. The brass numbers gleamed at him, smug and silent. His pulse roared in his ears. His breath came shallow, quick, each inhale tasting like metal and rage. "What now?" his brain demanded. "Kick it down? Knock politely? Text her and see if she lies while you're standing 5 feet away?" He imagined the text exchange. "How's Jess?" "Great. We're brainstorming ideas." Ideas for what? Matching bathrobes? He almost laughed out loud. Almost. Instead, he stood there, fist hovering near the door, every muscle vibrating with the need for answers. His knuckles brushed the wood, and in that moment, a sound. Muffled, but clear enough. Laughter. A woman's laughter. Her laughter. Marcus froze, his insides turning to molten lead. He pressed his ear to the door, jaw clenching so hard his teeth ached. Then, another sound. A man's voice. Low, smooth, punctuated by words he couldn't quite catch. Something inside Marcus snapped. Not loud, not explosive, but quiet and absolute, like the click of a safety off a loaded gun. He stepped back, every nerve screaming at him to do something. Anything. But then, footsteps. Coming closer. From the elevator. Marcus turned, his body on autopilot, just as a man in a tailored navy suit rounded the corner. Mid-40s, silver at the temples, exuding the kind of casual arrogance that came from money and too many yes men. He carried a key card in one hand, phone in the other. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second, and Marcus saw it. The flicker of recognition, not of him, but of the situation. The guy gave a polite nod, the kind rich men give to strangers they'll never think about again, and disappeared into the suite next door. Marcus's pulse slowed just enough for rational thought to sneak back in. Busting in now? Stupid. Messy. Illegal. Number, if Ashley was lying, she'd bury him in excuses, gaslight him, flip the script, and he'd walk away looking like the paranoid husband from a Lifetime movie. He needed proof. Concrete. Unshakable. Marcus turned on his heel and walked back toward the elevator. every step heavy with fury, shackled by cold logic. Back in the SUV, he sat motionless, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles looked carved from marble. His phone lay on the console, the green dot still glowing like an open wound. He could feel the rage simmering, low and steady, like a pot left on the stove too long. It would boil over. Sooner or later, it always did. But when it did, Marcus wanted it to count. He wasn't going to shout. He wasn't going to beg. No, Ashley wanted a performance. He'd give her one worthy of an Oscar. First step, patience. Second, information. Marcus unlocked his phone, opening the App Store. His thumb hovered over the search bar before typing 2 words. Hidden recorder. Marcus isn't done. He's just getting started. The plan forming in his mind? It's ruthless, and it's going to turn Ashley's world upside down. Don't even think about blinking, because what happens next will make your jaw hit the floor. Marcus drove home like a man possessed, every turn of the wheel fueled by a cocktail of rage and clarity. His anger wasn't wild anymore. It had hardened into something sharp, precise, surgical. The kind of anger that didn't scream. It calculated. His house greeted him with silence. Not the comforting kind, but the hollow kind that echoed through the walls, mocking him. He tossed his jacket on the couch and headed straight for his office. The laptop flared to life under his touch, casting a cold blue glow across his face. He opened browser tabs like a man on a mission. Hidden recorder app, GPS logger, cloud storage autosync. He wasn't tech-savvy, but desperation had a way of turning men into fast learners. Within an hour, Marcus had installed a voice-activated recording app on Ashley's iPad, the one she left in the kitchen for recipes. He configured it to sync everything to his private cloud folder. Next, he ordered a discreet camera online, a tiny device that could pass for a charger. Overnight shipping. As the plan took shape, his sarcasm bubbled to the surface, bitter and scalding. "Congratulations, Ash," he muttered, typing in his credit card info. "You just turned your husband into James Bond. Hope the champagne's worth it." His phone buzzed. A text from Ashley, still with Jess. "It's getting intense. So many details to iron out. I'll probably grab a late bite before heading home." Marcus stared at the message, his lip curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. He typed back, "Take your time. Hope it's productive." He hit send and whispered to the empty room, "Productive as hell, I bet." The image of her at that hotel replayed in his head like a cursed gif. Laughing behind closed doors, lipstick smudged, someone else's hands on her. He gripped the desk until his knuckles turned white. But then he forced himself to breathe. Slow. Controlled. This wasn't about blowing up in a parking lot or flipping tables in a hotel lobby. This was about winning. And to win, you needed evidence so irrefutable it burned every lie to ash. Hours crawled by, sticky and slow. Marcus's phone lit up again around 6:30 p.m. "On my way home. So exhausted. Can't wait to crash with you, babe." The audacity of it almost made him laugh. Almost. Instead, he tapped the app, refreshing the location history. Her route told the story. Fontaine Grande, a detour to a boutique wine shop, home. Classic. Cover all bases. Bring a bottle. Make it romantic. Bury the truth under Cabernet and candlelight. Marcus closed the app and leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. "You think you're clever," he thought, a cold smile tugging at his lips, "but you have no idea what's coming." The front door clicked open at 7:02 sharp. "Ash?" he called, voice smooth as silk, masking the barbed wire beneath. "Hey, babe!" Her voice floated in, light, almost musical. He heard the shuffle of heels, the rustle of a shopping bag. You would not believe how crazy today was. Marcus stepped into the hallway, painting his face with the perfect shade of casual curiosity. Oh, yeah? Jess run you ragged? Ashley laughed, setting a bottle of wine on the counter like an olive branch. You have no idea. It was non-stop. I'm dead on my feet. Marcus let his eyes linger on her for half a second too long. She looked flawless, as always. Hair in loose waves, makeup subtle but polished, black dress replaced with jeans and a cozy sweater. The transformation screamed premeditated, like she'd staged her own alibi in the mirror before walking through the door. Well, he said, flashing a smile sharp enough to cut glass, you deserve a medal, or at least a glass of this. He nodded toward the wine. Ashley grinned, moving to uncork the bottle. You read my mind. Marcus watched her hands work the corkscrew, steady and practiced. Not a tremor, not a slip. If guilt lived in those fingers, it was buried deep. They clinked glasses. The wine tasted like ash on his tongue. They talked. About nothing. About everything. The weather. A new Netflix series. A colleague's promotion. Her laughter chimed like bells, and every note made Marcus want to smash something heavy against the wall. Because under that laughter, under those perfect answers, he heard the truth. Loud, clear, unapologetic. And soon, he'd make her hear it too. By midnight, Ashley was asleep, curled under the duvet like a child. Marcus lay beside her, eyes fixed on the ceiling, body rigid as stone. The soft rhythm of her breathing filled the dark, mocking him with its serenity. He turned his head, studying her profile in the moonlight. So beautiful, so deceitful. The contrast made his chest ache with something too complex to name. His phone buzzed softly on the nightstand. A notification from the recorder app. He slid it open, heart thrumming. The audio file loaded. He plugged in his earbuds and pressed play. Static. Then voices. Ashley's voice. Light, airy, threaded with laughter he hadn't heard in years. And a man's voice, smooth, confident, calling her baby. Marcus froze. The blood roared in his ears so loud he almost missed the next part. A kiss. Wet, unmistakable. Followed by a low moan that didn't belong in any conversation about event planning. Marcus yanked the buds out, chest heaving, vision blurring with a rage so raw it tasted like copper. He wanted to wake her up, shake her, scream the truth in her face until the walls caved in. But he didn't. Instead, he slid the phone back onto the nightstand, every movement deliberate, mechanical. Because now he had proof. Hard, cold, unshakable. And tomorrow? Tomorrow he'd make her regret every second of laughter in that hotel room. Marcus woke before dawn. Not because of an alarm, but because sleep had abandoned him like loyalty had abandoned his marriage. He lay in the dim gray of early morning, staring at the ceiling, his chest heavy with the weight of choices. Ashley slept soundly beside him, face serene, lips parted slightly, looking every inch the picture of innocence. And that, right there, was the problem. The audio replayed in his head like a poison track, her laughter bubbling like champagne, that man's voice wrapping around her name like velvet. The obscene sound of their kiss echoing through his earbuds until it burrowed into his bones. Marcus slid out of bed, moving like a ghost. He padded into the kitchen, his body rigid, his mind sharp as shattered glass. He poured coffee, watched the black liquid swirl, and thought, how poetic. Black. Bitter. Just like this situation. He took a slow sip, savoring the burn, letting it ground him. Today wasn't about rage. Rage was sloppy. Rage got men arrested, ruined careers, made headlines like "Local Man Snaps." No, today was about precision, control, theater. He opened his laptop, pulled up the audio file, and dragged it into a new folder labeled TRUTH. Then he uploaded it to the cloud, copied it to an external drive, and finally synced it to his phone. Multiple backups. Insurance. Because today, Ashley would not gaslight him, would not spin a web of excuses. Today, the truth would be a freight train, and she'd be tied to the tracks. By 8 a.m., Marcus had a plan. Not a vague idea, not a rough sketch, an airtight strategy dripping with poetic justice. He was done playing the clueless husband in the background of his own life. Today, the spotlight was his. Step 1. Choose the stage. Privacy was too merciful. No, this deserved an audience, not strangers, but people who mattered. People whose opinions carved her identity. Her parents, his brother, a few close friends, the curated inner circle she bragged about at brunch. Step 2. Set the trap. Marcus texted from the kitchen, the steam from his coffee curling like smoke from a gun. "Hey, babe, thinking dinner tonight? Just us. Been too long since we did something special." The reply came fast, like a guilty conscience sprinting to look innocent. "Aw, babe, that sounds perfect. I'll make reservations." "What time?" He smirked. "Perfect. Hook. Meat bait. Leave it to me. 7 p.m. Dress sharp. I've got a surprise." Ashley sent a heart emoji. Marcus stared at it until the red bled into his vision. "Oh, there'll be surprises," he thought, his lips curling into a smile colder than steel. The day crawled like a wounded animal. Marcus moved through it with robotic precision. Emails answered, calls taken, a meeting where he nodded at all the right moments while planning her downfall in the back of his mind. At 6:15, he stood before the mirror, adjusting his tie. Navy suit, crisp white shirt, cufflinks glinting like tiny promises of vengeance. He looked good. Not for her. For him. For the man who refused to drown quietly in someone else's betrayal. Ashley emerged from the bedroom at 6:40, a vision in scarlet silk that clung like sin. Her hair cascaded in loose curls, lips painted a shade that could start wars. "Wow," Marcus said smoothly, masking the venom coiled behind his teeth. "You look breathtaking." Ashley preened, smoothing the fabric over her hips. "You clean up nice yourself, Mr. Reynolds." She winked. "Guess tonight's going to be fun, huh?" Marcus smiled, slow and sharp. "Oh, you have no idea." The restaurant was Ashley's favorite, a high-end spot with dim lighting, plush booths, and a wine list that read like a novella. She slipped her arm through his as they walked in, her laughter floating like a melody Marcus wanted to strangle. The hostess led them to the private dining room. Ashley blinked, her red-tipped fingers brushing his sleeve. "Wow, Marcus, this is extravagant. What's the occasion?" Marcus pulled out her chair, his smile a mask of pure charm. 8 years, Ash. Figured it was time to make a statement." He signaled the waiter, who whisked over with 2 flutes of champagne. Ashley raised hers, eyes sparkling. "To us," she said. Marcus clinked his glass against hers, the crystal ringing like a death knell. "To the truth." Before Ashley could respond, the door opened. In walked her parents, his brother, 2 of their closest friends, all dressed sharp, confusion etched on their faces. Ashley's smile froze. "Marcus, what's going on?" He leaned back in his chair, swirling the champagne in his glass like liquid gold. "Relax, babe. It's a celebration." Her pulse visibly jumped in her throat. Marcus reached into his jacket, pulled out his phone, and tapped the screen. The audio file filled the room, spilling from the discreet Bluetooth speaker he'd synced earlier. Ashley's laughter burst through first, bright, carefree. Then a man's voice, low and intimate. "God, you're perfect." Marcus woke before dawn, not because of an alarm, but because sleep had abandoned him like loyalty had abandoned his marriage. He lay in the dim gray of early morning, staring at the ceiling, his chest heavy with the weight of choices. Ashley slept soundly beside him, face serene, lips parted slightly, looking every inch the picture of innocence. And that, right there, was the problem. The audio replayed in his head like a poison track, her laughter bubbling like champagne, that man's voice wrapping around her name like velvet. The obscene sound of their kiss echoing through his earbuds until it burrowed into his bones. Marcus slid out of bed, moving like a ghost. He padded into the kitchen, his body rigid, his mind sharp as shattered glass. He poured coffee, watched the black liquid swirl, and thought, how poetic. Black. Bitter. Just like this situation. He took a slow sip, savoring the burn, letting it ground him. Today wasn't about rage. Rage was sloppy. Rage got men arrested, ruined careers, made headlines like local man snaps. No, today was about precision, control, theater. He opened his laptop, pulled up the audio file, and dragged it into a new folder labeled TRUTH. Then he uploaded it to the cloud, copied it to an external drive, and finally synced it to his phone. Multiple backups. Insurance. Because today, Ashley would not gaslight him, would not spin a web of excuses. Today, the truth would be a freight train, and she'd be tied to the tracks. By 8 a.m., Marcus had a plan. Not a vague idea, not a rough sketch, an airtight strategy dripping with poetic justice. He was done playing the clueless husband in the background of his own life. Today, the spotlight was his. Step 1. Choose the stage. Privacy was too merciful. No, this deserved an audience, not strangers, but people who mattered. People whose opinions carved her identity. Her parents, his brother, a few close friends, the curated inner circle she bragged about at brunch. Step 2. Set the trap. Marcus texted from the kitchen, the steam from his coffee curling like smoke from a gun. "Hey, babe, thinking dinner tonight? Just us. Been too long since we did something special." The reply came fast, like a guilty conscience sprinting to look innocent. "Aw, babe, that sounds perfect. I'll make reservations." "What time?" He smirked. "Perfect. Hook. Meat bait. Leave it to me. 7 p.m. Dress sharp. I've got a surprise." Ashley sent a heart emoji. Marcus stared at it until the red bled into his vision. Oh, there'll be surprises, he thought, his lips curling into a smile colder than steel. The day crawled like a wounded animal. Marcus moved through it with robotic precision. Emails answered, calls taken, a meeting where he nodded at all the right moments while planning her downfall in the back of his mind. At 6:15, he stood before the mirror, adjusting his tie. Navy suit, crisp white shirt, cufflinks glinting like tiny promises of vengeance. He looked good. Not for her. For him. For the man who refused to drown quietly in someone else's betrayal. Ashley emerged from the bedroom at 6:40, a vision in scarlet silk that clung like sin. Her hair cascaded in loose curls, lips painted a shade that could start wars. "Wow," Marcus said smoothly, masking the venom coiled behind his teeth. "You look breathtaking." Ashley preened, smoothing the fabric over her hips. You clean up nice yourself, Mr. Reynolds. She winked. Guess tonight's going to be fun, huh? Marcus smiled, slow and sharp. Oh, you have no idea. The restaurant was Ashley's favorite, a high-end spot with dim lighting, plush booths, and a wine list that read like a novella. She slipped her arm through his as they walked in, her laughter floating like a melody Marcus wanted to strangle. The hostess led them to the private dining room. Ashley blinked, her red-tipped fingers brushing his sleeve. Wow, Marcus, this is extravagant. What's the occasion? Marcus pulled out her chair, his smile a mask of pure charm. 8 years, Ash. Figured it was time to make a statement. He signaled the waiter, who whisked over with 2 flutes of champagne. Ashley raised hers, eyes sparkling. To us, she said. Marcus clinked his glass against hers, the crystal ringing like a death knell. To the truth. Before Ashley could respond, the door opened. In walked her parents, his brother, 2 of their closest friends, all dressed sharp, confusion etched on their faces. Ashley's smile froze. Marcus, what's going on? He leaned back in his chair, swirling the champagne in his glass like liquid gold. Relax, babe. It's a celebration. Her pulse visibly jumped in her throat. Marcus reached into his jacket, pulled out his phone, and tapped the screen. The audio file filled the room, spilling from the discreet Bluetooth speaker he'd synced earlier. Ashley's laughter burst through first, bright, carefree. Then a man's voice, low and intimate. God, you're perfect. The sound of her sobs trailed Marcus like a ghost as he walked down the velvet-lined hallway of the restaurant. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Her voice, once sweet, now fractured, was nothing but static to him. He pushed through the heavy glass doors into the cool night air. The city glittered under 1,000 lights, indifferent and infinite. Marcus inhaled deeply, the chill slicing through the heat simmering under his skin. It felt clean, almost pure. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Ashley. Again. The screen lit up with her name over and over like a dying heartbeat. He let it vibrate until it went silent. He reached the curb where his SUV waited, sleek and black like a panther in the shadows. As he slid into the driver's seat, Marcus exhaled slowly, gripping the wheel not in anger this time, but in finality. The Bluetooth pinged, another incoming call. He jabbed the button. Ashley, he said, voice flat as stone. Marcus, please. Her voice cracked, splintered with desperation. Please, listen to me. It's not what you think. Really? His laugh was a blade. Because what I think sounds a lot like a man calling you baby, while you moan his name on a hotel bed. She gasped like the truth had teeth. I made a mistake, okay? It didn't mean anything. It was stupid. We can fix this, Marcus. Please, just... You don't fix what's shattered, Ash, he said softly, almost tenderly, but the venom laced every word. You sweep it up so no one cuts themselves on the pieces. Silence on the line, punctuated by her ragged breaths. Then a whisper, I love you. Marcus closed his eyes for half a second, letting the irony sting before twisting the knife. No, Ashley, he murmured. You loved the version of me who didn't know. That man's dead. He ended the call and tossed the phone onto the passenger seat like it was contaminated. Back at the house, the quiet hit him like a punch. Same walls, same furniture, but nothing felt familiar anymore. Betrayal had a way of painting everything in new shades, uglier, sharper, poisoned at the root. Marcus moved through the rooms slowly, methodically, like he was walking through the ruins of a life that had burned down overnight. Their wedding photo on the mantel, him in a navy suit, her in white, smiling like a promise carved in stone. He stared at it for a long moment, then laid it face down. On the dining table, he placed the envelope of divorce papers, now fattened with extra pages. Bank statements, credit card receipts, screenshots of the GPS logs, and, of course, a USB drive labeled in bold black ink, "Play Me." Inside it, the audio, every sickening laugh, every kiss, every moan. Marcus's signature sat at the bottom of the papers, clean and unflinching. All that was missing was hers. He left a note on top, written in a hand, steady as iron. "You wanted choices, Ashley. Here's your last one. Sign, or I take this public." At midnight, Marcus packed a bag. Not much, just clothes, his laptop, the essentials. He slid the suitcase into the trunk of his SUV, the metallic thud echoing in the silent night. His phone buzzed again. This time, not Ashley, his brother. "You good?" the message read. Marcus stared at the screen, thumbs hovering. Then he typed back. "Better than ever." He hit send, climbed into the driver's seat, and started the engine. As the car rolled down the driveway, Marcus glanced in the rearview mirror at the house shrinking behind him. Not with regret, not with longing, but with a strange, electric sense of freedom. The road stretched ahead like an uncut diamond, rough, gleaming, waiting to be shaped into something new. For the first time in months, hell, maybe years, Marcus smiled. A real smile. Not for her, not for anyone else, for himself. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't rage, it's silence. It's walking away without a backward glance, leaving the wreckage for the guilty to choke on. And Marcus Reynolds? He was already gone.